DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Hear Clinton Maroon live play-by-play this season on WHOW, the big 1520 daytime, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, and 106.5 in Bloomington Normal all the time. Plus, streamed at DeWittDailyNews.com on the WHOW mobile app. Plus, hear a best of Clinton sports broadcast Saturday mornings at 10. All brought to you by Midstate Eye, Nan Craig with Remax Choice, the 217 Home Team, Warner Hospital and Health Services, and Liberty Village in Clinton.
Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today, Tony Harris, Director of DeWitt County CENCOM, with us. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Seth.
Yeah, you were like, I know it's 9:30 after a holiday weekend, but you back in it? You back at it?
I'm back in it after the holiday week. I was on vacation last week, so it was nice to have some time off. And, back at it on a Tuesday morning.
I made the mistake of responding to an email first thing when I got in this morning and totally botched up what I was trying to tell the person. So I learned don't respond to emails until maybe 10 o'clock the morning after a holiday. But no, it's good to have you in, Tony. It's good to talk with you. So let's dive into NextGen 911, Tony. This is kind of an ongoing conversation because we continue to get closer and closer to an implementation date. Before we kind of dive into what at NextGen 911 is, what's the latest with the program? What are we looking at for maybe an implementation time?
Well, I believe I mentioned the last time we talked that we have a date in July to migrate over to the EZNet. It's the Nationwide Emergency Services Network. The state of Illinois is the project leader on this project, and they are taking different 911 centers and scheduling those for the migration over to the EZNet. And we were on schedule for July. And as of right now, what I learned before I went on vacation 2 weeks ago, that I'm not even sure the state of Illinois knows this yet, but we found out we had some problems with our equipment, our local equipment, which is newer equipment. When I say problems, it's more of it's not the right software update yet. So we've got to work through some of that, update the software and do some more testing to see if that works. So I would say that after talking to the software people, that this is not going to happen in July, but it's definitely, I think, going to happen this year.
Yeah.
We might be delayed a month or two. Gotcha.
And as we were talking before we got started, I got to thinking, you're probably encountering a lot of these things as you work closer to that implementation time. What are some of the challenges of such a big move like this? What have you encountered in terms of challenges similar to this one?
Well, as I mentioned before, this started 4 or 5 years ago, so we've had lots of challenges. But the most recent ones within the last year is just the challenge of getting our local GIS data, map data, in a position where we're able to supply that to the vendor, and then get that to the state of Illinois to work with the EZNet. So that's been a huge challenge. We have good GIS data. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money back, 15 years ago when we readdressed the county and went from a rural route box number to an actual physical address. That's been some time ago, but doing that, we got the address points and the addresses where we need them. But now we find out, like last year, that we need some additional work to be done to make that compatible with the NG 911 system, and then add some more different layers, emergency boundary layers, things like that. So that's kind of been a challenge, and we are also working on a couple of different apps that we sort of use right now with Rapid SOS. It's another software program that we use in the 911 center, and there's a lot of 911 centers that are using that. And Rapid SOS is a software. It's an app on a phone where a subscriber can put in some medical information, anything that they want the 911 dispatcher to see. They're able to do that, and that when they put that data in, it shows up when a 911 call goes through.
Sure. Well, for folks at home listening, perhaps this is the first time they're hearing the term NextGen 911. So, 10,000 foot overview, Tony, what's this all about?
Well, historically and even up through today, the 911 system is a voice line only. I think most people are familiar with picking up a phone, a cell phone, or a landline phone, and dialing 911 and get a voice call to a 911 dispatcher. This is going to still work that way, but it's also going to take it on the next level, which is the next generation level, where it's more than just a voice call, but it could be a data call too. It could be pictures, videos, as I mentioned earlier. Medical information can flow with that call as well. So it's taken the voice lines and putting it in a more data stream where pictures and medical information can go along with that call.
Yeah, there's a lot of advancements that are coming with this, and we'll speak to those as we go along. But you were talking about that transition, the challenge of things just like the operating system of your software that you've got. It needs to be updated before you can move into this next gen 911. I venture a guess there's folks at home that wonder, as you're testing these things, how does that impact current emergency response and current calls into a 911 center? Like if I call 911, are you going to be on this system, but it doesn't work? And so, is my call going to go through? Like there's probably scenarios running through everybody's head. Speak to that as you transition in your office.
That's a very good question. We have to make sure that we keep the current live voice line open, and as we do the testing and move to the migration process, we're going to keep the old legacy system in place as a failover system. So a very good point. As we migrate to the next gen 911 level, we're going to keep the old system in place too. So, as any kind of electronics or software programs can fail, and we will keep that legacy system in place as a failover. So as we migrate over, the public's not going to see anything. I've been talking about this for, like I said, 4 or 5 years, and we've been
longer
testing.
than that, I feel like.
Yeah, it probably has been.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of work in this and testing, and the public's not even known about this except for me doing the occasional radio shows like this, and talking about it. But we just do it behind the scenes, and we're quiet about it, and we make sure that it's working properly.
For sure. Now, as you make that transition, what has gone on? I know there's been a lot of physical work, in your office with systems and technology and infrastructure. What all has happened in that CENCOM office to get us to this point here today, where we're ready to make that transition? Just a few minor things to take care of before then.
Yeah, there's like I said, the mapping things, the GIS, that's a lot of it. We're there where we need to be. We've hired a contractor to help us with some of that. Our mapping vendor is helping us with that. So that's some behind the scenes work that's being done. A lot of the work that's being done is basically done in my office. I'm the main project leader on the state's the project leader, and locally I'm the project leader. So I've been doing a lot of work with the state of Illinois, with the different vendors, and now the new vendor being AT&T, who supplies the EZNet.
Okay.
So I work directly with them. Even my staff, we've been trying to have periodic meetings to update my staff, the 911 dispatchers, what's going on. And I've been so short staffed that they're working a lot of overtime. So we've been pretty unsuccessful in the meetings, but even them, they're not fully aware of what's going on behind the scenes to make this thing ready.
But I know in there, like where they sit, there's a lot of new technology. There's new desks and all those things to get kind of compatible in the CENCOM office itself. How about some of those changes?
Yeah, they're aware that we're working on this. They are aware that there's some new things coming. But yes, we spent a lot of money through a grant process to get the new furniture. We started, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago with the new phone system, the new call taking equipment to answer the 911 calls. That was all part of it. We had to get to where we need to get with the new equipment and with the new furniture. As simple as to put the monitors and things like that on that you mentioned.
Sure.
So we've been preparing for it, and they know that it's coming.
Yeah, definitely. Again, our guest in studio today, Tony Harris, is the director of DeWitt County CENCOM, in studio with us. What is still to come in terms of, your staff being kind of on the same page with this change, getting them kind of fully in the loop? What do you still have to do there?
Well, I think that's where we're going to have meetings, and we're coming up with different training programs to provide to them where they can take those. The state of Illinois is also working on a mandatory training a session that every dispatcher must take this training session and pass a test to continue on. So that's coming. But I think the biggest thing, to answer your question, is just to have meetings and prepare them for what's coming. Like I said, they know a little bit. They know we have new software programs coming. They've seen some new map layers coming, so they've got a good idea what's coming. But I think, once we get a good firm date when we're going to migrate over, that's when we're going to have a meeting and tell them, okay, so what you've been preparing for 4 or 5 years is now here.
Right.
And we're going to migrate over on this date. And to start with, it's going to be a migration basically like it is now with the voice calls, but it's opened that path up for the data calls. But that's not gonna be in place right away. That's when we're gonna have a migration period. Like this month, we might migrate some services over to that new EZNet. The next month, we might migrate some more stuff over to that. So we're not gonna just open it up on a Monday and say, here's all the calls coming in.
Kind of piecemeal it together a little bit.
So we've got some work to do in the planning process to figure out how we're going to do it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, maybe after the break, we'll talk about, some of the challenges of that, but, more along the lines of getting the public informed. And then we'll speak to some like technological things that will come along with this change. But before we do go to the break, I want to ask you this. What have you, being on the ground level of this, the ground floor of having to implement this at a local level, what have you seen challenges to be? Like, are there things you're concerned about with this? Whether it's the actual implementation, the actual system itself, what are you seeing that you have concerns with, Tony?
Well, what I have concerns with is basically my staff, the 911 dispatcher. What are they going to see when when I talk about, and I've explained this several times, when I talk about next generation 911, it's just that. It's like I said, it's data that's coming in. It's pictures, it's videos. I mentioned last time I was here with the different telematics videos in cars that have been in a crash. The talk is that there's going to be live videos. Could be a live video of a cabin of a vehicle that's crashed, so we can see what's going on, see the injuries that might be to impact emergency services. If that's the case, if that plays out, what's the dispatcher going to see? How are we going to deal with that? Pictures that they're going to be seeing, videos that someone might see that witnessed a crime. There's a lot of things that we're not sure is how that's going to interact with the next generation 911 system. So there's going to be some preparing for the staff. Hey, right now you're taking voice calls, which is bad enough. You're hearing a lot of bad things. My staff is hearing a lot of bad things. Now they're going to be seeing a lot.
There's not a visual
things.
with that, right? Yeah.
So we don't know how that's going to play out. There's going to maybe be some psychological help that we're going to have to provide. We just don't know until we get on the network and start piecemealing this in place.
The network itself, the system itself, you like it? Do you see any issues with that?
No, I don't see any issues, and I think we're going to migrate over to the EZNet just like we currently have with the voice calls. No one's going to, the public's not going to notice anything, and I don't think my staff will even notice anything until we start migrating different services over to it. Until we start receiving some of the videos and the text. That's what's going to be different.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's speak to maybe that transition a little bit more from the public perspective and some other things that come with it. But Tony, best way for folks to, maybe they have questions about this, or are you putting information on social media? How do they keep up with those things?
We have been putting some information on social media. I'm in the process now of giving that duty to one of my staff that can share once we get a good target date when we're going to migrate over and start providing some of the text and videos, picture services. Then we'll start putting some information out there. So I think it's going to be important to share information on Facebook. That's Facebook of CENCOM of DeWitt County. We'll be sharing some information there, and I plan on doing shows like this and maybe getting out and meeting with the public at different events and just go over some of that, answer questions.
There you go. Very good. Tony, let's take a time out here. Come back with some more. Tony Harris, Director of DeWitt County CENCOM, our guest in studio. More to come with him on the morning show.
WHOW.
LFB.org. Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all lower on this Tuesday. July corn $6 1/4, down 3 3/4. September corn down 13.516. December new crop 521 1/4, down 13 1/4. July beans down 21 1/2, 13.15 3/4. August beans 12.36 down 25. November new crop 11.64 down 25 1/2. July wheat 5.95 1/4 down 20 3/4. September wheat 6.09 3/4 down 19 3/4. July bean meal 396.90 down 5.30. July bean oil 46.96 down $1.86. Livestock market, August feeders 236.67 up 2.75. June live cattle 167.97 up 62 cents. June lean hogs $79 even. That's up $2.92. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet Service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month. And get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
If you're looking for the latest in local hunting and fishing information, then join us for Central Illinois Outdoors with me, Jared White, Saturday morning at 7, Sunday morning at 8 on all WHOW platforms. Every weekend, we'll offer detailed Central Illinois fishing reports, and I'll invite you to share your favorite stories as well. Central Illinois Outdoors with me, Jared White, every weekend here on WHOW and on demand at CentralIllinoisOutdoors.com. Brought to you by Bob Ridings in Pana, the Clinton, Illinois Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau, and Locked and Loaded in Pana.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Tony Harris, director of DeWitt County CENCOM, is my guest in studio here for today. Tony, you mentioned something I think is going to be really crucial, and that is interacting with the public, making them aware of these things and these changes. Like you said, they're not going to notice. They make a 911 call. Nothing's going to change. It's going to be kind of the same procedure, but you're adding a component of texting. You're adding a component of video. So how about, the confirmation that a text message they have sent, I'm in trouble, this has happened to me. How do they know that person on the other end of that line has seen that and they're going to get help? How about those types of ins and outs of this?
Yeah, well, first off, let me start by saying that, that's not here yet. That once we start migrating, then that piece will be available. So, I want to make sure that if the public knows that in DeWitt County, if a text is sent, we're not going to get that. That's part of the process. But yes, they will know. We'll have a feature within our system that will automatically generate another text back saying 911 received your text, and then that will, from my understanding, that will open that up immediately. So they'll get a bounce back text saying we got it, and then the dispatcher can communicate with the person that's texting, and then that piece will be, when I say we're going to migrate over to the EZNet, the texting is going to be one of the very first pieces that we're going to put in place, and to let the public know, how are we going to let the public know? That's where I think it's going to be my job to, like I said, to do these shows or just get out there and talk to the public and say, okay, so now we're on the EZNet, we're working on text, or now the text is available. You can use the text feature. You can send pictures, and it might even be where the dispatcher might even, once we're on this EZNet, might recommend, okay, so you're reporting this crime that's going on. Can you take a picture? Can you send me a picture? So because we can do a lot with that. We can send that on to the emergency responders, say they witnessed a crime, they've got a picture of the vehicle or something like that. The license plate number is what we're looking for. They can send that to the dispatcher, and then we can forward that on to the emergency responders. So I think it's going to be my job to educate the public, keep the public informed as to where we're at on this and when we're migrating services over, and then just keep the staff educated as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to want to know, when these things take place, whether it's a text message, a phone call, whatever the case may be. I think they're going to want to know how that works on your end of things, so they will know how to interact back and forth, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Tony, I know that this kind of ties us into a technology piece where, will there be an app? Will there be, features within this that we can just put on our phones? We may not ever need it, but in the event we do, it's there. What do some of the technology pieces look like that may come with this?
Well, and this is probably not widely known right now, but on a cell phone, in the it's on the settings. There's a piece on it. I have an Android, so there's a piece in there that says safety and emergency, and if you click on that, there's a couple of fields. Like one is emergency information. So some of this is tied into the phones now.
Okay.
Depending on who answers that call, whether it's in DeWitt County or Piatt County or Logan County, depending on the software program that they have, we have Rapid SOS, and Rapid SOS has a contract with some of these phone providers where a lot of that information will flow over. So a lot of it's built into the phone now in the settings, where you can put medical information or emergency contacts, anything like that, and that will flow over on some of the software programs like the Rapid SOS that we use today.
Okay.
But this is going to migrate over to the EZNet and the NG911 stuff as well.
Gotcha. Now, again, that kind of transitions me to, there are programs where you can register your personal information, some medical information, those sorts of things. Highlight a couple of these opportunities that folks have to kind of streamline the process of when they contact an emergency services, just having that information available. How about those things?
Well, there's an app right now called Personal Safety app, and some of that emergency information can be put in there. Medical information, emergency contacts, those can be put in there, and when a 911 call is made, then that will show up. But one I wanted to highlight right now, with the state of Illinois, their website, ilsos.gov. This is something that's called the Emergency Contact Database. It's through the Driver Services of Illinois. It's where the public can go in there and they can put just basic information, basically a emergency contact and some very minimal medical information in there. But what we're looking for is emergency contact information. So if someone's out on the road and they're driving and they're involved in an accident, and we need to make contact with family. If people would go in and utilize that service and put in an emergency contact, then we would have better luck in contacting family.
I see. Gotcha.
And that can be done through the Illinois Secretary of State's office, ilsos.gov.
Sure. And similarly, about a minute here, Tony, but similarly, this is something, kind of close to what you've got in DeWitt County. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, the Rapid SOS that I spoke about, that's it's the same thing. It's a little bit broader information that the citizen can provide, more detailed medical information, prescriptions that they may be on, just basic information that the 911 dispatcher would need in the event they had to call 911, and that information flows, and that's part of the Personal Safety app that we're using today. So that's available today. But again, all this stuff is fairly new, and we're going to be migrating some of this stuff over to the NextGen 911 system, and we'll know more about it. Again, this is all pretty new within a year or two.
Yeah, gotcha. So this is kind of a learn as we go process for everybody, it seems like.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. Tony, again, the Facebook page for folks to kind of keep up with the latest. How do folks find you on Facebook?
CENCOM of DeWitt County is the Facebook page.
Tony, good to see you as always, my friend.
Good seeing you,
Yeah,
Seth.
thanks for making time for us. Tony Harris, DeWitt County CENCOM Director, our guest in studio. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222.